Hey there, Magic players. Jeremiah here. Welcome back to the High Powered Hobby YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. You know, all the YouTube things. This is the first time I've done a video like this on the channel. It's kind of a deck tech. In the soon coming Edge of Eternities set, there's going to be a commander's rules change where you can have a vehicle as your commander. Well, the rule is really any legendary permanent that has a power and toughness box on its front facing side. So the commander that I went with is Esika's Chariot. Esika's Chariot is a 4/4 vehicle. It's mono green. Whenever it enters the battlefield, create 2/2/2 green cat creature tokens. Whenever Esika's Chariot attacks, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. The reason why I picked this one is because it says target token. It doesn't specify creature token, although there aren't a lot of different ways to make token copies of non-creature permanents in mono green. But the one thing I love about this vehicle is it comes with the bodies that you need in order to crew it. So you can still have all of your other things utilized the way that you want, and you can just use the cats that come with it. But the main point of this deck is to make tokens and to make more of those tokens. So similar cards that do what Esika Chariot does to make more tokens of ones you already have. Before I get into that, I should probably explain, I have these separated into piles of different categories of what these decks do. We'll get into those categories as we go along. But this first category is other cards that also do what Esika's Chariot does. So in case it gets removed or something, you have backup plans. So we have cards like City of Death, which is a Doctor Who card. Its first saga is create a treasure token, and it has 5 sagas that are all the same. And it says create a token that's a copy of target non-saga token you control. So every pre-combat main phase, right after our draw, we'll get another token. Another one is Second Harvest. So you create tokens of all the tokens you have on board. Then you also have Rootcast Apprentice. This one is a 4-cost sorcery. You can choose 3. You may choose the same mode more than once. So this one you can put 2+1/+1 counters on target creature, create a token that's a copy of target token you control, target player creates a 1/1 green squirrel, or target opponent sacrifices a non-token artifact. So I love that this has multiple modes. So you can have somebody, you can use it as removal to get rid of artifacts. You can make tokens if you don't already have any. But the one I like it the most is you create a token that's a copy of target token you control. And this allows you to choose the same mode more than once. So you could just make 3 tokens of something you already have. Full Flowering, XX in a green, populate X times. So if you have a lot of mana, you can make a whole bunch of tokens that you already have. Although populate is specific only creature tokens, but that's what we're going to be doing the majority of the time. For Common Good, this one's very, very similar. So it's another sorcery. It's XX in a green. Create X tokens that are copies of target token you control. Then tokens you control gain indestructible until end of turn. You gain 1 life for each token you control. So it's basically another Full Flowering with additional upside. Another one that I included in this pile is Druid's Deliverance. There aren't very many cards that say populate on them that are in mono green. There's a lot more Selesnya cards, so green and white, that have populate, but this one is a fog effect that also just populates. So you can use it to protect yourself, but you can also use it to just a really cheap card. It's an instant for 1 in a green, so you can just make another token. Now, we need to make tokens. So I could just make regular creature tokens, but I also have this pile here. These are different cards that make token copies of themselves. This one's kind of expensive, so I understand if you want to switch this out. I originally had this, the card's called Ave. It's an Ooze Storm card that I had, but when I saw this card, I was like, this one works even better than that. I'll put that card up on screen. But this one is Gladharim Brigade. So it's 2 in a green for a 2/2 with squad. So it's pay 2. So if you pay a total of 5 mana, he'll come out and he'll make a token copy of himself. So it says other elves you control get +1/+1. So the more tokens of this that you make, the bigger all of your elves will be. Another card that makes token copies of itself. I love this one. It's basically the same thing except for oozes. Oozes you control get +1/+1. So this is a 0/0 for 4 mana. So with its own ability, it's a 1/1. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control a commander, create a token that's a copy of Bio-Waste Blob. So it makes token copies of itself as long as you have your commander on board on your upkeep. And then you can just keep making more tokens, and then these ones scale as well with Gladharim Brigade. And then, of course, the classic Scoot Swarm. So if you have 6 lands, it makes more token copies of itself, and this can get really, really out of hand. Just really great. Now, for other things that don't already make token copies of themselves, I have a stack of cards here. So these are all things that can help you make token copies of things. So Helm of the Host, Very, very good card. This one will actually make non-legendary copies of things. So you can even put it on your commander. Although since it's a vehicle, when it stops being a creature at the end of your turn, the equipment will fall off. And it's 5 to equip. Let's read the card. So Helm of the Host, 4 to play. Legendary artifact equipment. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a token that's a copy of equipped creature. Except the token isn't legendary. Equipped creature is legendary. That token gains haste. The thing that's interesting about this card is this token gains haste. So it basically staples the word haste onto your card. So every token copy that you make that's a copy of the token you make from this also has haste. But you equip it for 5. So you can equip it to your commander or any other creature you have on board. And just going to combat, you automatically make a token. And then, of course, Esika's Chariot's ability is an attack trigger. So you can just start making more tokens right away. One of the most mana efficient, I think, of these is Spring Heart Nantuko. So it's 2 to play for a 1/1, but it also has Bestow 1, which is the thing that we're going to be doing in this deck. So we'll play it as an enchantment aura onto a creature that we want to make more token copies of. Enchant creature gets +1/+1. And then it also has landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield in your control, you can pay 2. If Spring Heart Nantuko is attached to a creature you control, if you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature. If you didn't create a token that way, create a 1/1 green insect creature token. So if you don't pay the 2, it just makes an insect, kind of like how Scoot Swarm does if you don't have 6 lands. So it just makes an insect. But otherwise, you can pay 2 mana, and you can make a token copy of whatever it's attached to. So it's just 2 mana to do that. Another card that does basically the same thing is Bramble Sovereign. So this is a 4/4. Whenever another non-token creature enters, you can pay 2. So it's the same cost. And if you do, that creature's controller creates a token that's a copy of that creature. This one's really funny because you can technically give your opponents additional creatures as well. But we're probably not going to do that. But whenever you play a non-token creature, you can pay 2 and make a token copy of it. So if you just add 2 mana to whatever you're already doing, you make another guy. This one's pretty good. Dollhouse of Horrors. It's an artifact that costs 5. But if you pay 1, you can exile a creature card from your graveyard. So this requires a little bit of setup. You need some creatures in your graveyard. And it creates a token copy of the exiled card. Except it's a 0/0 construct artifact in addition to its other types. And it has, this creature gets +1/+1 for each construct you control. It gains haste until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. This one's really great because if you can get like a Scoot Swarm in your hand, what's better than like having like 6 1/1 Scoot Swarms than having, 6 Scoot Swarms that all buff each other. So this can get really out of hand as well. A similar card that requires a little bit of setup is Mimic Vat. So this is an artifact for 3 with imprint. Whenever a non-token creature is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may exile that card. If you do, return each other card exiled with Mimic Vat to its owner's graveyard. And then you can pay 3 and tap it, put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of the exiled card. This one is very interesting because it says a copy of the exiled card. Later on, you'll see I have some lands that animate themselves, so they become creatures. If they die while they're creatures, Mimic Vat will see them die as creatures, and you can exile them. And then you can pay 3 and tap it, and you can actually make a token copy of a land. And then you can start making more token copies with Esika. Now, it does say you have to exile it at the beginning of the next end step, but the tokens that you make, like with your commander, those ones get to stay. The only one that has to go is the original one you make with here. But then again, I also have a lot of creatures in here that have ETB effects. So just getting that ETB might just be worth it just to do that. And this one, since this is whenever any non-token creature dies, you can actually make token copies of your opponent's creatures with this as well, which is really fun. And this one is probably my favorite one out of the bunch. So this is actually a land that'll make a token copy. So this is Lazotep Quarry. So it's a desert. It can tap for a colorless mana, so it doesn't enter tapped, which is great. It also has tap, sacrifice a creature, and add 1 mana of any color. This is actually a very, very good ability as well, and we'll get to that, because it also fuels your other cards that require setup. So your Dollhouse of Horrors or your Mimic Vat. This will help facilitate those to kill a creature, to get it in your graveyard so you can use those. But it also has its own ability, where you can pay X and 2 and tap, sacrifice a desert. I want to clarify that it says a desert. It doesn't have to be itself. It can be any desert. And because of that, I've actually included a couple of deserts in the deck, so you can repeatedly use this. So let's read its ability. Exile target creature card with mana value X from your graveyard. So if you have a Scoot Swarm in your graveyard, it's 3. So you'll pay 3 into X and 2 and tap this. So it's a little mana intensive, but you create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. You get to eternalize any creature in your graveyard if you just pay 3 extra of its mana cost. So again, what's better than a bunch of 1/1 Scoot Swarms? A bunch of 4/4 Scoot Swarms. And so this card is really great because it acts as also like recursion. So if somebody kills a creature that you really, really like, you can start just getting it back from your graveyard and making token copies of it. Very, very awesome card. And because this card is my favorite out of the bunch, I also included a bunch of ways of getting it. So of course, crop rotation is the best option here. It's a 1 mana, you sacrifice a land, and you can search your library for any land and put it directly into play. So you can go straight for the Lazotep Quarry and put it directly on the battlefield and start using it. Another good card is Titania's Command. This one is good because it has multiple modes. So you can do its second mode, search your library for 2 land cards and put them on the battlefield tapped. But you can also make some tokens if you don't have any tokens, and you can put 2+1/+1 counters on each creature you control. So this helps with your go wide strategy. If you manage to get enough tokens, you can just buff them all up. And this does say choose 2, so you can do both things. But it also has exile target player's graveyard. You gain 1 life for each card exiled this way, just in case you have a player that you need to get rid of things in their graveyard. Map the frontiers, search for 2 basics or 2 deserts, so you can get your Lazotep Quarry and another desert, so you don't have to sacrifice your quarry right away. This is also great because this is also a target that you'll want to make tokens of. So Uvenwold Hydra, it's a star, so its power and toughness is each equal to the number of lands you control. Oh, and it's 6 mana to play. It has reach. Whenever it enters the battlefield, search your library for a land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. So cards like this work really well with like your Springheart Nantuko. So if you bestow a card like this with your Springheart Nantuko, now when it enters, you get a land. That land will enter, it'll trigger landfall. You can pay to make a token copy. That token will enter, you'll get a land. So you can literally just get as many lands as you can pay for out of your deck. There's a couple of different other cards that do this. Another card, Wood Elf, would be really, really great because that one, when it enters, it gets you a forest, and those don't have to enter tap, so you can get basic forests, and it helps you pay. I don't have one in here just because I didn't have one. I built this deck completely out of just the cards that I already have. So for me, it was pretty budget to build this. But obviously, it has a lot of room for upgrades if you want to upgrade it, if you like the idea of this deck. So you make a whole bunch of beaters, and each one that enters, you'll get more lands. Expedition Map, classic. You can even play it on turn 1 because it only costs 1 to play. Tap 2, sacrifice it, search your library for a land, put it in your hand. This one's really similar. It's a 2 mana sorcery, search your library for land, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So I dedicated a few cards to just searching for that Lazotep Quarry because it does everything you need, and it even supports the other cards that you have. This next pile I have, this is kind of like these are like cards that support your go wide strategy. So of course, Avenger of Zendikar, it makes a whole bunch of plant tokens, and then a landfall, it makes all of your plants bigger. So it makes a huge field of tokens. And then this is also really great too. If you can make a token copy of this, you can start making more and more, getting more and more plants, and each one will trigger the landfall trigger and buff every single plant you control. So it's just a huge army on one card. Sylvan Anthem. So this is 2 green. Green creatures you control get +1/+1. So it's a nice little anthem that makes all of your 0/1 plants into 1/2 plants. But any other creatures you have that as well. Whenever a green creature enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1. If you can get a bunch of tokens entering the battlefield at the same time, you basically just get to pick which card you want to draw next. So it's really great for that. Beastmaster Ascension. This card's really, really great. A solid overrun effect. It doesn't give you trample, but again, if you have a whole bunch of Scoot Swarms, now there's 6/6s. All you have to do is just attack, and every time you attack, it gets a quest counter. Once it has 7 or more, all of your creatures get +5/+5. This one's really, really good because this one can also help you just kill somebody. So Roar of Challenge. All creatures able to block target creature this turn do so. And it has Ferocious. That creature gains indestructible until end of turn if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, which is your commander once you crew it. So you can literally just target your commander with this. It'll gain indestructible, so you know you'll get your attack trigger and your commander will survive. And all of your other attackers, will get through because all of the blockers have to block your commander. So really great card there. We haven't got into the things that every commander deck needs. Ramp, card draw, removal, all that stuff. So this next section I have, ramp. A lot of ramp. This deck needs a lot of mana to do all of its things. Springheart Nantuko, so you need to play your card, pay an extra 2. Your Bramble Sovereign, same thing. So you need a lot of mana. So I have a lot of ramp in here. Emerald Medallion, 2 mana. Green spells you control cost 1 less to cast. Super awesome. Whisper of the Wilds is 0/2. It's taps for a green, but if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, taps for 2 instead. So, I tried to keep the mana pretty low, so most of these things are 2 mana, so you can get your commander out. Although, if you're cooking, and you don't have to play your commander, this deck can still go off pretty well. Elvish Rejuvenator. This one, it enters, you look at the top 5 cards of your library, and you can put a land card, so it doesn't have to be basic. So this helps also. You can possibly find your Lazotep Quarry. You don't necessarily have to have this. You could possibly upgrade to that Wood Elf. Like I said before, that gets you a forest. Because this one, you put the land from among them on the battlefield tapped, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order, but it still does the job. Wild Growth, really great turn 1 play. It's an enchant land for 1 green, and it makes that land tap for an additional green. So it makes your forest tap, that specific forest you put on tap for 2. Then we got Land War Elves, classic, 1 mana, 1/1, gets taps for 1 mana. Farhaven Elf, it's like a Wood Elf, but it searches for only basics and it puts them on the battlefield tapped, unfortunately. But it's a 1/1 for 3 that gets a basic land. Also goes well with Springheart and Tuco. Wolf Willowhaven, 2 mana, enchant land. This is like the Wild Growth. It makes it tap for an additional green. But if you are desperate for making a creature token, later on in the game, you can pay 5, sacrifice it, and create a 2/2 wolf. Llanowar Visionary. Okay. This one, you might think is hot garbage. It's 3 mana for a mana dork. We already looked at one that taps for a green. But when this one enters, it draws you a card. This card is crazy, good in this deck. If you can make token copies of this, it draws you cards and it ramps you every single time you make one. And it's only a 2/2, but if you can Lazotep Quarry it and make it a 4/4, now you have all these 4/4s that have drawn you cards, and if you don't need them to attack, they tap for mana to pay for the stupid spells you drew into. This is probably one of my favorite cards to make token copies of in this deck. Finhorn Elves, another 1/1 that taps for 1 green mana. Elvish Mystic, same thing. I want to get this train going as fast as possible, so lots of 1 and 2 manas. Sakura Tribe Elder, also really good because a lot of our token makers get our stuff out of the graveyard. So this being able to just sack itself, put it right in the graveyard, we can make token copies of this and start sacking them, getting more lands because we need as much ramp as we can get our hands on. This is another guard. I'm not even going to read its name. It's a plant. It costs 2 mana. It's a 1/1. Add 1 mana of any color. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, it makes 2 instead. So once you create your commander, it makes 2 mana. And of course, you got to have a Soul Ring. If you can get a Soul Ring out in this deck, it just goes. Now our next pile, card draw. There aren't a lot of super budget card draw effects in green. All of the really good ones cost a lot of money. So these are the ones that I had laying around. So these are the ones we're going to use. Beast Whisperer. It's a 2/3 for 4 mana. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you draw a card. There are quite a few creatures in here, but a lot of the things that I do have a lot of non-creature spells, but this one's the cheapest one. You have some other ones that are like 6 or so mana. I didn't want to include those because they were too high of a mana cost, but even if this doesn't trigger all the time, I'm okay with a 4 mana investment. That's not a big deal. Viridian Rebels, this one's actually really, really good if you're playing, if a lot of your friends have artifact decks or specifically treasure decks, because this is a 3 mana enchantment. Whenever an artifact is put into an opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. So every time they crack a treasure, you draw a card. Super good card. This is probably the best draw engine in the deck. Garruk's Pack Leader. It's a 4/4 for 5. Whenever another creature, note it doesn't say non-token. Whenever another creature with power 3 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. So if you can make a token of this, the token will enter, triggering the other one. You'll draw a card, and then every other time you make another token, you'll draw 2 cards, then 3 cards, and it stacks. Very good card. Hunter's Insight. So it's 3 mana for an instant. Choose target creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, draw that many cards. This is just a cool card to get a nice little burst of card draw. This, of course, is a token deck. So Idol of Oblivion, 2 mana artifact. Tap, draw a card. Activate only if you've created a token this turn. Hopefully we make at least 1 token every single turn. And hopefully it's a high impact token as well. And of course, if we get any of these other cards that do the same thing as our commander, we'll be making multiple tokens a turn. The extra card draw, very good. Keeper of Fables, this one is basically a budget Toski. So it's a 4/5 for 5. Whenever 1 or more non-human creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. If we have enough tokens, we should be able to draw a decent amount of cards each turn with that. And then this is just Harmonize, 4 mana sorcery, draw 3 cards. You can't go wrong with that. Our next pile, this is Removal, because every deck needs some removal. And And yeah, we'll get into that. So Kamal's Will, 4 mana instant, choose one. If you control a commander, as you cast a spell, you may choose both. Until end of turn, any number of target lands you control become 1/1 elemental creatures with vigilance, indestructible, and haste. They're still lands. So this also helps with like your go wide strategy. You could play this if you have a Beastmaster's Ascension in play. You'll get all of your quest triggers and you'll be attacking with 6/6s instead. Very good card. But the reason why I have it in the removal category is because you can choose target creature you don't control. Each creature you control deals damage equal to its power to that creature. So this can kill a pesky creature on board that you need to deal with. Yeah, just get somebody's commander off the board if you need to. Hopefully you have your commander out and you get both modes. The other thing that's really cool about this is it animates one of your lands. So you can kill it if you have a Mimic Vat in play. You can animate. You can make tokens of your lands, and that's just a fun thing to do. Reclamation Stage, 2/1. Like I said, a lot of the creatures in this deck have ETBs. So when it enters, you could destroy target artifact or enchantment. You never know if somebody has a ghostly prison, because your Esika's Chariot is an attack trigger. So you want to make sure you can attack as freely as possible. So it's a 2/1 for 3. This one can be pretty brutal. So the Acidic Slime, 5 mana for a 2/2 with Death Touch. Seems overcosted, but when it enters the battlefield, you can destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. If you can make token copies of this and just keep making more and more and more, you can just wreck somebody's mana base to shreds. And then you also have a bunch of 2/2 Death Touch blockers, and they're not going to want to attack you. Beast Within, super awesome green card. 3 mana, instant, destroy target permanent, so this can get rid of any permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 beast creature token. Just solid interaction. Bramble Crush, 2 and 2 green, so 4 mana, sorcery, destroy target non-creature permanent, so this will get rid of anybody's artifact or enchantment that you really need to get off the board. It's obviously not the most efficient removal, especially it being a sorcery, but these are the cards that I had on hand, and I didn't want to spend a fortune. But this will get rid of whatever you need to get rid of. Stingfling Spider. So far, this deck is pretty weak in the air, so I added the spider in there. So it's 5 mana for 2/5 with reach. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you can destroy target creature with flying. Somebody's playing birds or angels, say goodbye, and then if you can make token copies of this, you can really keep them in check, keep yourself alive. Monstrous Onslaught. This is a green board wipe. There aren't very many, especially creature board wipes in mono green. So this is 5 mana for a sorcery. Monstrous Onslaught deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control as you cast this spell. If you have a creature like your Avenger of Zendikar, it's a 5/5, you can deal 5 damage to something. If you have any of those creatures that scale the more you make, let's say now you have it 12/12, you can divide 12 damage among creatures on board to kill the things that you need to kill. Azuri's Predation, this one is 8 mana for a sorcery. For each creature your opponents control, you create a 4/4 green beast creature token, and each of those beasts fight a different one of those creatures. So if you're playing against 3 opponents and they each have 4 creatures, you make 12 4/4 beasts, and they fight. Hopefully you kill a good amount of the creatures. You get to keep some of those 4/4s for later attacks. It's just a really good card. Now, we went over removal, but we also need to be able to protect our own stuff. So there aren't a lot of board wipe protections in mono green, unfortunately. But of course, the classic, Heroic Intervention. 2 mana instant, permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible. This card is kind of expensive, so I understand if you don't have one, not to include it. Rapid Vigor, 2 mana instant, regenerate each creature you control. So regenerate is really useful. So if they were to die, you tap them, remove them from combat, and they get to live. So obviously this card, either of these cards don't protect from a mass exile effect like a Farewell, but you're not going to find that in mono green, unfortunately. And then you also have recursion cards like Bala Ged Recovery. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. So if one of your key pieces does get removed, you can bring it back. Same thing, Tireless Witness. This is basically an Eternal Witness, except in this deck, it's a little bit better. This is a 2/1 for 4 mana, creature, human, shaman. When it enters the battlefield, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. But it also has Eternalize for 7. So if it does die, you can exile it from your graveyard and create a token of it. That's a 4/4. So if you can kill it, this is another card that can make token copies of itself if it's in your graveyard for 7 mana, and you can get back other things. It's fun to get back your Heroic Intervention and then keep looping. Make more tokens, get it back, so you can always make sure you can protect your board. This little pile here that I have, I kind of consider these win more cards, or things that help you get to your end state Court of Calling. Since it's a token deck, this having Convoke is really, really awesome. So it's 3 green and X. And then, of course, Convoke. Search your library for a creature with mana value X or less, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. So this will get you any creature that you're in desperate need for, something that has a really good ETB to get rid of a thing that you need. Or maybe you haven't drawn any of your things, you can get your Bramble, Sovereign, or something into play. So this is just a great way to get the thing that you need, and it'll go straight to the battlefield. You could even play this, search for your Chimeless Witness, have it enter, and get your Court of Calling back and play it again. It's just a good card. Mirage Mirror. I included this card in here because I wanted to have an ability, a way to make token copies of my opponent's things. So with this, it's an artifact for 3. You can pay 2, and it becomes a copy of target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land until end of turn. So you can copy your opponent's things, and then make token copies of the thing you made a copy of. I was very limited in mono green, so now if somebody's playing a 5-color good stuff deck, you can start copying their things, which is really cool. Panharmonicon, like I said, a lot of the creatures in this deck, including your commander, have an ETB. So having a Panharmonicon can help all those triggers just stack, and you'll get even more and more things. Really good card. Of course, this is a token deck, so we got a Parallel Lives. I was fortunate to have one of these already, but this is the most expensive card in this deck. 4 mana enchantment. If an effect would put 1 or more tokens on the battlefield in your control, it puts twice that many of those on those tokens on the battlefield instead. There are other budget versions of this, but they're going to cost more mana to play. I like that this is cheap, not monetarily, but it's a very good card. Obviously, making twice as many tokens will be a really big deal in this deck. Now, I have these 2 cards in here. These are actually a 2-card infinite combo. This is kind of like a just in case end the game kind of button. If there's no way for you to get back into the game and to win, you can probably Court of Calling for one of these things. And I actually feel like this is an infinite combo that is fair. So let's read these. So Scurry Oak. It's a 3 mana 1/2 with Evolve. So if something enters the battlefield under your control, that's power and toughness. One of them is bigger than this one. It gets a +1/+1 counter. But it also has whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on it, you create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. By itself, you're like, okay, that's just fine. You make a 1/1 squirrel. So what? This is Ivy Lane Denizen. Another thing that's crazy is this is an uncommon and a common. 4 mana for a 2/3. Whenever another green creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So if you have Scurry Oak into play, you play Ivy Lane Denizen, it evolves it, this gets a counter, you make a squirrel. The squirrel enters, Ivy Lane Denizen says, hey, a green creature entered, I'll put a +1/+1 counter on something. Put it on Scurry Oak. Scurry Oak gets a counter, makes a squirrel. And so on and so forth. So you make an infinitely large Scurry Oak and an infinite board of squirrels. They don't have haste. So maybe if this was already out, you can attack with something that's huge, but if they have a chumper, it doesn't matter. And they give your entire table a whole turn cycle to deal with it before you win anyway. That's why I think it's fair. It's a 2-card combo, so it keeps it out of even bracket 2 or 3. It would technically put it into a bracket 4, but I don't think this is unfair. So I would still consider this deck a bracket 3 deck. Now, we haven't talked about the lands. Since this is a mono green deck, I have a plethora of basic forests. But it also means that we have a good swath of utility lands that we can utilize. So War Room for an additional bit of card draw, pay 3, pay life equal to the number of colors your commander is, which is only 1 to draw a card. Blighted Woodland, you can pay 4, tap it, and sack it for 2 basic lands. So it can help with your landfall shenanigans. Rogue's Passage, it'll help make the stuff unblockable, so you can pay 4, tap it, target creature can't be blocked this turn. It doesn't even have to be a creature you control, so you can help your opponents hit your other opponents. But it's also just a nice way to get in a big hit or to make sure your Esika's Chariot won't die in combat. Encroaching Waste, this one has, you can pay 4, tap it. Encroaching Waste destroys target non-basic land, so if somebody has a pesky land that you need to get rid of, you just have that if you need it. Otherwise, it's just a land on the battlefield. Ominous Cemetery, pay 5, tap, exile it. Target creature's owner shuffles it into their library. So this is a nice little creature removal to get rid of somebody's creature. And then these are the lands that I was talking about that can make themselves into creatures, so they can animate. So if you control 2 or more other lands, this enters battlefield tapped, but it can pay a green, or you can tap it for a green, or you can pay X and green. Until end of turn, this becomes an XX green Hydra creature token. It's still a land. So you have a ton of mana, you can make this into a big beater. But it's just a funny little way to make your lands into creatures, so you can make them into creature tokens and start making a whole bunch of them. It's just fun. Crawling Barrens, this one you can pay for, put 2+1/+1 counters on it. It becomes a 0/0 elemental. But you can, if you just have the mana, you can just stack counters on this, and you just have a cool creature land. Mishra's Factory, this one can pay 1. It becomes a 2/2 artifact creature token until end turn, and you can also tap to make an assembly worker a 1/1, or give it +1/+1. So it's just a really cheap way to make your creature a land. This one's probably one of the other most effective ones, but it does enter the battlefield tapped. Most of the lands in this deck do not. This is one of the exceptions. So it taps for a green mana, or you can pay 2, and it becomes a 3/3 ape with trample. Pretty good. This one you can pay 4. It's a Dread's Statuary. It becomes a 4/2 golem. And then Tranquil Thicket. This is just a cycle land, so you can pay a single green, discard it, draw another card in case you have too many lands. Thespian Stage. I put in here just in case you need to, for whatever reason, copy your Lazadep Quarry, or maybe somebody else has a really cool land into play that you want to copy. So this one has pay 2, tap it. Thespian Stage becomes a copy of target land, except it has this ability. So this can just be a nice utility land to get to make it whatever you want. Very good card. So that's the deck. I'll include the deck list in the description below. I also made a second version of this deck. On Moxfield, it tells you like how much the deck costs depending on whatever sources it pulls its information from. So I made a second version that like excludes like the 2-card combo and some of the expensive cards like the Parallel Lives to keep it under budget. So I made a second version that's budget under $100, and that includes the price of lands I probably should have, like especially basics. Like it on Moxfield for some reason it says that all basics are worth 35 cents, but so it's under $100, and you can fit it firmly within bracket 2. And I think it's a really fun deck. Obviously, it's not like crazy powerful. Like if you like, this would be a much better effect to build around in, say, Simic. There's much easier ways to make tokens of stuff when you include blue. Since we're in mono green, we don't have to fix our mana. Like it's just like nice. It's streamlined. It's simpler. But of course, if you wanted to put more money into it, you can make a much stronger Simic version of this deck idea. But I thought it was really cool. I wanted to build a vehicle commander, and I had one of these, and I thought I should make a deck. And I think I'm going to do a couple of little goldfish, like little play tests, so you can see how it is. But of course, first I need to shuffle all these cards. All right, I'm going to shuffle this up a couple of times so you can see that I didn't just stack this deck. So, oh, whoops. I didn't see it, so who cares? All right, let's see what we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see what we got. Springheart and Tuco, super great. A lot of land and no ramp. I would mulligan this away. Although getting a Springheart and Tuco is pretty awesome to make token copies, but that hand, no bueno. Let's try again. Remember, the first mulligan's free. It's Commander. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. Got some ramp. Got a cool creature. We got the Sylvan Scrying to get the Lazadep Quarry. This is a keep, in my opinion. All right. Turn 1. Get a draw. Oh, yeah. And a Scoot Swarm. There we go. Turn 1. Llanowar Elves. Turn 2. I think... So we've got the 3 mana. We can either throw out the Scoot Swarm, but I don't know if anybody would have removal and want to get rid of it. I want to wait until I can really capitalize on this. So I think I'd rather just play the Sylvan Scrying and get the Lazadep Quarry. Of course, we won't be utilizing one of our mana, but I think it's a safer play. I don't want somebody to remove this when I'm not ready from them to remove it. So let's go ahead and get our Lazadep Quarry into our hand. All right. And then we'll go to turn 3 here. So on turn 3, I think now I'm okay with playing the Scoot Swarm. So I'm going to pay 3 to play the Scoot Swarm and then play the Lazadep Quarry. So when it enters, of course, we'll make just an insect, not a token copy because we don't have 6 lands. But now I don't know if you can call this protection, but now I can use Lazadep Quarry's ability to sacrifice a creature, so I can tap it and sacrifice it to add 1 mana of any color. So in case somebody has some sort of exile removal, I can sacrifice my Scoot Swarm instead, and then it's safer in the graveyard, and then I can still pay to make token copies of it later. So let's pretend somebody does. Somebody goes to Path to Exile this. I'll sacrifice it in response, so now it's in my graveyard. And it still got me a little token out of it, which is nice. So then we'll go to the next turn. Another land. This one will enter tap because I have more lands. So let's go ahead and, we'll play it tapped and tap the 4 for our commander, which will come in with the 2 cats. And we'll see where we go from there. So on to turn 5 here. We'll play a Survivor's Encampment. So our mana is a little funny right now. So if we want to choose to do something, we can do all 6 and get another land and have a pretty big beater on board. We could do the Acidic Slime depending on what's on board that we need to get rid of, and another form of ramp so we have more mana next turn. We can go a double ramp. It's hard to tell when you're goldfishing what exactly you might want to do, because having more mana next turn might be better, because then we'll have our Scoot Swarm and we'll have the magic 6 number, and we'll have plenty of mana to use this ability and do something else that we need. But this will also get us a land, so that'll still do about the same thing. Whatever you would decide to do, it's completely up to you. I think I would like to do the 2 spells. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can pay the 6 to get out the 2 spells. So we can Acidic Slime. I'm sure there's something on board that we want to get rid of, and another Dork. Then we can tap those, potentially swing with our commander to make a token copy of something, probably another cat, because they're 2/2s versus making a 1/1. But we'll have that. And that was our turn 5, so then we can go to our turn 6. We don't want to play our land drop yet because we want to get that Scoot Swarm out of our graveyard. So what we're going to do is we're going to pay 1, 2, tap this, and then we need 3 because that's Scoot Swarm's mana value, so we'll tap for 3. Sacrifice a desert. Remember, it doesn't have to be Lazotep Quarry, so we're going to sacrifice this other one, Survivor's Encampment, and then we'll exile Scoot Swarm and get a token copy of it. That's a 4/4 instead of a 1/1. And then we can play our land for turn. We'll do a Mishra's Factory just because. Oh dang! See, I made a mistake. The Ulvenwald Hydra would have been a better play last turn because it would have gotten us another land, another desert, and then our lands wouldn't have gone down. Silly me. Mistakes were made. Because then we would have had another token copy of Scoot Swarm that's a 4/4. And then when we attacked, we would also make another one. Then we'd have 3, which would make our removal a lot harder to deal with. Our board harder to deal with besides a board wipe. But that's another reason why it's good to goldfish. So let's pretend I was smart and I did do that. So I still have those in hand, and then I would have grabbed another desert. This is probably the desert I would have grabbed. Conduit Pylons. When it enters battlefield, you surveil one. This one's really good to grab because, of course, you can surveil a creature in your graveyard to fuel your Lazotep Quarry. But I almost never hit it. All the times I goldfish, I almost never hit it. So let's see. But yeah. Oh, that is a creature. Yeah, we'll go ahead and dump that in the graveyard. So now, when we play our land, we have the 6, and we would make the token copy of the Scoot Swarm. That is also a 4/4. And then we can tap our wolves that flew away while we were talking. Then we can tap those to crew our Chariot, attack, make additional 4/4 Scoot Swarm. Then we still have 2 mana. So at this point, I would deploy this one because since our Scoot Swarms are 4/4s, even this is a 6/6. So this will tap for 2 mana, which will be good for deploying more stuff next turn. So then we can go ahead and untap, draw a card for turn. Oh, and there's our crop rotation. But now we've got quite a bit of mana. So we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we have a land to play. Right now, if we were to play it, we would make 3 copies of Scoot Swarm. So what we could do is we can go to combat first and attack with our Esika's Chariot to make another copy. And then on our second main phase, play our Dread Return. And then we'd have 4 Scoot Swarm, so we'd make 4 more. We also have this Keeper of Fables in our graveyard now because of the conduit. We have enough mana to make a token copy of that. And then we can swing with as many things as we can, and hopefully we can get in and draw a few more cards. But I almost feel like I might want to try and do that next turn when we have a lot more Scoot Swarms to attack with. Oh, and then our crop rotation will get us an additional land drop as well. But let's do it this way. So I'd like to tap these, go to combat, and do some swinging. So I'd probably swing, see if they'll even kill this for us. Swing with those things, see what they do. Make an additional copy of Scoot Swarm. If you have anybody that's also good for attacking, you could attack them because they're 4/4s, which is nice. But then after combat, play a land, make more Scoot Swarms. So sorry, actually I have 5. Where did that other paper come from? And then I can also crop rotation, probably just one of these guys out of here. We've only got 2 cards in hand. Maybe we might want to get a land that'll help us draw cards. So maybe we'll go with the War Room, unless we want to grab another desert to help fuel our Lazotep Quarry. But when you have a Scoot Swarm in play, that's usually with this deck. That's usually the game plan. Start Scoot Swarming it up. And that will double our Scoot Swarms again. So now we still have a whole bunch of 4/4s, and then we still have a whole bunch of mana. So if we paid the 3 into the War Room to draw cards, see what other options are. Oh, and a Timeless Witness. We could do another crop rotation just to make a huge army of Scoot Swarms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because this one we can still make a mana of any color if we sacrifice something. So we'll play the Timeless Witness, get back the crop rotation, and then we can tap this, and we can even sacrifice the Timeless Witness because we can get it back with its own ability anyway to play another crop rotation, make double our 4/4 Scoot Swarms again. So at this point, somebody needs to board wipe or bust. We just have so many 4/4s now. We'll just grab another random desert just to put out there, and that's a pretty good turn. And some sort of Anthem or Overrun effect would be pretty good at this point. So let's just see what our next draw is to see if we can do something even more broken. But so we've got a ton of Scoot Swarms. Tap, draw a card, another card draw spell. But you can see this deck. Obviously Scoot Swarm, very, very good card. But I love Lazotep Quarry. I love this card in this deck because I can just make a token copy of anything that I need, anything that I have, and then it fuels itself because you can put a creature you want in your graveyard with it. Very, very good. And if somebody goes to exile one of your things, it's also just a really good free sack outlet to help fuel yourself. So it's just very good. Don't sleep on this card. If you like this deck, please look at the description below and see what I did. There's obviously a lot of room to upgrade, but I think it's really fun. And it is a little bit lower powered, but sometimes playing a little bit of lower powered Magic is totally fine. This is a very good bracket 2. This version probably bracket 3 deck. Obviously, I have that infinite combo in here, but the likelihood of naturally drawing into it aren't very high. And then, of course, you don't have to play it if you draw it. You know, you can play out your regular shenanigans. Just it's totally fine. But this card, it's probably the Commander's Quarters. They have the Golden Pig. This is probably the go-to card, which is why I have specific cards that tutor for it. If this is your first time on our channel, thank you for making it all the way to the end. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, do all the fun things. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, Magic players.